Hey everyone, Sky here to discuss Red 2, starring Bruce Willis, John Malkovich, Mary Louise Parker, Anthony Hopkins, Helen Mirren, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Byung-Hun Lee, Brian Cox, and Neil McDonough, and directed by Dean Parisot. Now, before I get into this movie, I must say, I saw it back in the day when it came out in 2013, and did I like it? Well, I mean, let's get into it. I like the comic book feeling this movie does throughout, and we pick up with Frank Moses, returned by Bruce Willis, and Sarah, returned by Mary Louise Parker, are confronted by Marvin, returned by John Malkovich, at a Costco, and Marvin's car, after he passes them, blows up, and Willis is no fun here, as far as I'm concerned. Marvin's funeral, as Frank pokes him thinking he's faking it, is a terrible first 7 minutes, just giving the opening a while, but just give the opening like a while, but nope. It just kicks in right away until it finishes Wes, Michael Bay kind of comedy and headache, and that's a bad thing as far as I'm concerned too. Jack Horton, played by Neil McDonough, goes to the interrogation room to torture Frank after he gets arrested by the FBI and trying to get him to tell Jack the information or else he kills Sarah. And the action did feel loud like a Michael Bay action movie, and it was torturing my ears. Marvin gets Frank out of custody, and this is when I lose respect for Bruce Willis as an actor. Although his remake of this movie was entertaining. In Hong Kong, we get introduced to Han Cho Bai, played by Byung-Hun Lee, who I've seen in movies like... and I will see him again in this movie later this year. But he is a pretentious anti-hero, as he's assigned by Jack to assassinate Frank, and same goes with Victoria, returned by Helen Mirren, as assigned by the MI6, and I feel really bad for Helen Mirren because she's an Oscar winner of this movie. But she's really bad here, and I liked her better last time than I did in here. In Paris, Frank, Marvin, and Sarah ran into Katja, forgive me if I said that wrong, played by Catherine Zeta-Jones, whom I fell in love with in this movie, and is an Oscar winner of this movie. But here, she's the worst thing about this movie, in my opinion. And she's another actress I feel so bad for, but I did like her title, which is Frank Moses' Kryptonite, which is Superman's weakness, but I really hate her character as we get introduced to her. Katja is rude to interrupt dinner plans between Frank and Sarah, and betrays him and steals a key, and Marvin has the key to get in a safe. And Sarah was again annoying in this movie. Absolutely annoying. And the movie at this point was getting worse. And Han shows up to kill Frank in a loud action sequence. Just, ugh. In England, Frank, Marvin, and Sarah drive towards Victoria and gives them 24 hours as she shoots the van to get to ICE, which is a prison thing, in London, and helps Frank out to get Edward Bailey, played by Anthony Hopkins, who's a tremendous actor that I not only feel bad for, but also embarrassed for him, because he's another Oscar winner of this movie. And here, he's just embarrassing himself, and I could not feel worse for Hopkins here than I did in these two movies that I reviewed. But he's much worse here than he was in the other two movies I just brought up. In Russia, they get arrested to find Ivan Simonov, returned by Brian Cox, And honestly, he may be the best thing in this movie, despite I don't really like these characters that much. Han comes in and again with a loud action sequence, and I don't care, and give me a break. Just let the movie end already. As they go into Kremlin place to save the world, Katja gets them in the bomb the hell out of there. And they're celebrating until Victoria tells Frank Bailey wants to see the bomb explode. And Katja gets shot thanks to Bailey. And Jack told Bailey to do all of the embarrassing things on screen as an act was a bunch of bullshit. And Frank and Sarah and Marvin almost get shot until Ivan and Victoria save their bland asses. This movie was just unbelievably boring until the end fight kicks in, but it's not enough for me as far as I'm concerned. Frank and Han have a brief fight until Frank tells him he needs his help, and they work together despite he'll kill Frank later in life, which I'm finding all of this unrealistic. In London, Frank gives Sarah a gun, and Frank slaps her as part of the plan, and a man comes in to get her a drink until she puts a knife on his leg and points a gun at him, which is, again, another unrealistic moment. Bailey kills Jack as he aims to put the explosive in Washington, D.C., as he tries to escape and Victoria tries to put him down. And Bailey captures Sarah, Han, and Han and Victoria go after Bailey, and rock music comes up and felt very stupid. And same with the stunts. I thought, oh my god. Ugh. Frank leaves the bomb in the plane Bailey is on and saves Sarah, and I was glad to turn this damn thing off. Just let it end. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 2.8 out of 10. Not as good as the original at all. I felt very bad for the Oscar winners, and this plot is absolutely boring. And I wanted to turn this thing off halfway through the movie, and I can't advise anyone to watch this whatsoever because it's so freaking boring. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and next week I will be back with the kitchen. And until next time, do you want to get pancakes?